Bill and Carl came into my office, they didn't seem as enthusiastic as I thought they might be. I was really quite taken with the idea and thought that it would be wonderful because Bill and Carl, I think, were among certainly our very best researchers on the faculty, and both of them were in American music, and I could see this as an opportunity to build that as a primary area of study for our students and for at least those two faculty members. And whereas in the past each of the individual faculty members had his or her own area of expertise and followed that, and none of them were at the point where I felt they were bringing any great amount of what should I say, reputation to the college, although they were reputable researchers.
Not reprobates.
Yeah, anyway. So anyway, it sounded immediately to me as that it just sparked. I thought, oh, we've got to do that. And then I started getting enthusiastic, and about that time, then Bill and Carl started saying, well, no, there may be this problem, and I don't know if we really, are going to be able to handle this. Yeah. And so maybe you can carry on for there.
Well, one of the things that concerned me, Bob, was that how are we going to get this collection from there to here? And because it filled a pretty good room there at San Rafael, and so that meant that we'd have to make a trip, and we did drive out there and had to rent a truck to bring all of the collection back, and that took what, 4 or 5 days, something like that, by the time we got it all done. So
just one trip?
We did it all in one trip. Yeah, hired a U-Haul truck and brought it all back. And now, who drove that? I don't remember. Little things there.
Did you meet Sister Dominic Ray?
Oh yes.
What's she like?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because she was a spry little nun who always wore her habit at all of the meetings for Americanists. In those days it was called the Sonic Society, S-O-N-N-E-C-K, not S-O-N-I-C, but it was the Sonic Society for American Music, and that was in the name of Oscar Sonic, who had been the first librarian of Congress to really deal with music. And it kind of goes back into that sort of history. And she was very sprightly. She'd hop around and meet people and talk. And by the way, on the CU libraries, your description of her here, if you look on that, there are pictures of her. And there's even a picture of her grave, which I'd never seen. But we went out there and got that collection, and we brought it back. And I did ask Sister Dominic to write recollections of the whole center and how it is, and I think it's in the ARMC now. It's about 50 pages long of the whole, the history of how she collected it, and a lot of it was California mission music, because naturally she's in California. Well, we didn't have any of that, so that was handy. But tune books, yeah, we've got plenty of tune books. Carl Kroger had a nice collection. And the one thing that she didn't have were composers. And we have a number of composers. In fact, I listed them here, Bob, just as I thought of them. The composers collections: Cecil Effinger, Jean Berger, Carl Kroger, Norman Lockwood, William Kearns. I said composers, collections, and arranging. And I'm not a composer, but I did do arrangements. And I say William Kearns partial. I'm still putting things in the library, and I haven't even got into the register yet. And then Robert Fink, future. Because I don't think you've started putting anything in yet.
No, but you're after me to do that, I realize.
So I have that for the future.
I will say that I was going to ask you about that later on, so we should talk about that.
Yeah, so that's, we got it back here, and from there on...
Well, I'd like to mention one other person who was very much involved, and that's Jim Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Who was fairly new in the library at that point in time, and I knew we would need his support because it would be going into the music library, which he had responsibility for. And also, we wanted him to support us possibly if he could financially, and because it was going to cost us money, some for the move, but more just for the collection itself. And Jim was from the start, when I talked to him about it, was just extremely supportive. And he said, yes, we've got to do this, and I'll do everything I can from my side. It'll be a joint effort, which it's been all of these years. So certainly would want to make sure that he is given credit. He helped me raise the money. As I recall, it was at least $80,000 that we had this, so it wasn't a small amount. That's off the top of my head.
Okay.
After at my age, it could be close, and it could. But I think it was about in that area.
It could be. Yeah, I don't know.
And but I thought that this would be something that would give us some national prestige in the research area, and given Bill's activity, and everybody in Sonic Society knew him at that point in time and regarded him very highly. And then when Carl came to be head of the music library, everybody knew Carl. So we had two people there who were sort of very important to the Sonic Society and very important to American music. So what would be better than to have us be sure that this collection, which was a very fine collection, was kept and expanded. And we knew it couldn't happen where it was, because where Sister Mary was, there just wasn't that kind of support and money, and that would never happen there.
In fact, she was shocked when they moved her out. I mean, she retired there because it is it's a secular. I mean, it's a Catholic school, and so she stayed there, of course. And we did visit her afterwards several times, didn't we? So going back, because our daughter lives in the Bay, and so it was only about an hour's drive away. So we continued to visit her.